So at about 2 o'clock in the doggone morning, Podcast P signed a 4-year, $212 million contract with guess who? The Philadelphia 76ers. Now, this is the team that I thought he should go to, and this is the team that I thought should be prioritizing him above all other teams. The big three of Tyrese Maxey, Paul George, and Joel Embiid, boy, is there some potential there. Now, you want Joel Embiid to be the same Joel Embiid coming off his injury, if not even better. You want Paul George to not be regressing too much because we know he's getting older. But and like I said, there's a lot of questions, but the top end talent, there isn't a better big three in the league off the top of my head. Top end talent wise, like KD, Beal, and Booker, you got KD and Book, but Bradley Beal isn't what he used to be. He's not the 30-point per game scorer that he used to be. We've got Tatum, Brown, and Drew Holiday, or Porzingis, whoever you want to say, but that third one drops off too much. That is the best big three in the NBA. They have Jared McCain. What do you want to play him as the off guard? Do you want to play him as some backup point guard? It doesn't matter what they're going to do with him. What they need to figure out right now, what is going on with Tobias Harris, because that boy got to be gone. What are they going to do about all these people or all these roster spots they have that are open? They have to sign other people in free agency, or they have to trade some guys for depth. Because right now, what do they have? 5, 6 players on the roster, like total? This is a great move if you're Philly, but there's still a lot of questions to answer if you're Philly, because you don't have a lot of players on the roster. You're going to need some backups. You're going to need some depth, especially if you're going to beat a team that is as deep as Boston, that is as deep as New York is now. We still expect New York to make some more moves, especially with the pressure that's put on them after this trade. Now, this trade puts a lot of pressure on those guys in the East. And I think the team that it puts the most pressure on is the Milwaukee Bucks. Because Milwaukee has a lot of questions to answer after coming off last season. The Dame and Giannis duo didn't look great. I'm not a fan of the Doc Rivers hire. They're losing Malik Beasley, who was their best corner three-point shooter, who was a guy that adds a lot of space into their bench. To their lineup. Brook Lopez is only getting older. Bobby Portis is only getting older. Giannis and Dame are only getting older. Milwaukee has a lot of questions. Oh, but Chris Middleton's only getting older and is always injured. Like, they have a lot of questions to answer in Milwaukee. Milwaukee was going into last season thinking they were the second best team in the East. They're going into this season thinking they might be 4th or 5th. Because we don't know what Cleveland's going to do. We don't know what Philly's going to do to continue to get better. But right now, there's 3 teams clearly above Milwaukee, and that is Boston, New York, and Philly. And for me right now, it's in that order. Now, top-end talent-wise, if we're just going top-end talent, it's still Boston, just because their starting 5 is still the best in the league, even if they do lose Al Horford. Like, their starting 5 with Derek White, Drew Holiday, Porzingis, Jason Tatum, and Jaylen Brown, that's still the best in the league. It's not even close. But if we're going based off, like, the big 3, just top-end talent, like those 3 guys that you need, it's Philly, but they don't have the depth, and that's the thing that they need right now. If Philly can get some more depth this offseason, there won't be a better year for them to win the ring. The East, while it is competitive, it's still open. Nobody thinks that the whole Boston's going to automatically repeat. Nobody's thinking that. Nobody is thinking that the league is just, we know who's going to win. Like, this isn't when the Warriors were the team and we knew who was going to win every year. This isn't that. We don't even know what's going to happen out West. Right now, Philly has to go all in for next season, if you're asking me. I don't care about their future. I don't care about none of that. You have Tyrese Maxey, who's young. I don't care about your future. You shouldn't be worried about it. You do everything you can to get Joel Embiid, Paul George a ring right now this season. You do everything in your power to get all of the depth you need to progress Jared McCain, see what you're going to do. Are you going to play him at the off guard or on the bench? Like I said, you got to do everything in your power to come and get this ring this year. Because a lot of people, including myself, we were like, well, is the process over after last year, after that injury? And the only reason I said I didn't think it was because Joel Embiid was injured, and I personally believed that if Embiid had been fully healthy that whole series, they would have won that series. I personally believed it. Now, I still think it would have been close, but I personally believed they would have won that series. Now, with the addition of Paul George, who again has health issues of his own that we are always concerned about, who again has not shown up in the playoffs consistently over the last few years, I get that. But just the top-end talent, the expectations, it looks great for Philly. They didn't have to give anything up because Paul George declined his player option and became a free agent. He didn't accept his player option and didn't get traded or anything like that, which wasn't an option for him. He didn't do that. He just went straight to Philly, declined his player option, signed a free agency. This is great for Philly. You sign a guy, you used a lot of money, but you knew you were going to have to use money, and he's worth the money. Can you go out and get a Klay Thompson, who is saying a lot of people think he's going to go to the Mavericks? Though I know people are saying LeBron called him, whatever. Can you go out and get a guy like Klay Thompson? Can you go out and get some role players? What are you going to do with Tobias Harris? What are you going to do about these spots that you don't have filled? Because right now, the East is deep, and the East is getting better. I love the top-end talent, but we've seen in recent years the top-end talent isn't enough. What happened to Brooklyn? What's happening to Phoenix right now? The top-end talent is simply not enough. What happened to the Clippers? Go talk to Paul George about it. What happened to the Clippers? The top-end talent is not enough. You got to get pieces that fit together. And I think Paul George is a great fit in Philly. I really do. And like I said, it's not hard to be a great fit when you don't have a whole bunch of You don't have a whole bunch of people on the lineup, but I think he fits very well with Tyrese Maxey. I think he fits well with Joel Embiid. He's going to be a guy that's relied on now as a third option offensively. He's not going to have too much of a load on him, so we might see PG return back to that lockdown defender that he's been in the past, and I think that's what we might see. I think we're going to see PG go from a guy that takes a little step down offensively, but then takes a step up, like back to his youthful days defensively, because they aren't going to need him to do that offensively as much as it was needed in LA, where he was the second option. They have two guys, one of them an MVP, one of the most dominant big men ever offensively in the league right now on their team. They have a guy that, in my opinion, if he didn't get hurt last year, would have won the MVP because his numbers were even better than his MVP year. They have guys. They have a guy like Tyrese Maxey who just made an All-Star, just made the All-Star game. I don't think he was All-NBA, but he just made the All-Star game. One most improved player. You trust him offensively. You saw what he was doing in the playoffs. Now, granted, it wasn't super consistent, but he played well in the playoffs versus New York, especially when he was relied on a lot more because of Embiid's injury and because we knew Embiid didn't look healthy all the way. Now, this is one of those where it's like my initial reactions to it. I think this is one of those where it's like this is a great move, but it's not enough. Like the Mikal Bridges trade, I thought that was a great move, and then I thought the OG Anunoby signing was a great move, but that's not enough. But I think they're closer to having enough than Philly is, because Philly just needs to fill out those rotational guys. They don't just want to get bench players. They need to get bench players that fit. They need to get guys that can play some defense, especially maybe another defensive wing. They need to get guys that can back up Joel Embiid so he's not getting hurt, so he's not playing all those minutes. So you got to get guys that can do these things. You got to get guys that can back up. Well, you have Jared McCain who can back up Tyrese Maxey. You got to get a guy that you trust to play either that 2-guard or a bench guard if you're going to start Jared McCain. There are things that Philly needs, but the biggest question that they had to answer was, will they add a star? And guess what they did? They saw what the Knicks did to go get Mikal Bridges. They saw what the Knicks did to re-sign OG Anunoby, and they said, okay, we didn't get any of the guys that we let New York right down the street, right down the train ride, go get the guys they wanted. They re-signed the guys they wanted. They wanted OG. They said, all right, bet. And then they went and got Paul George. This is a big move for Philly, but there's still more to be done, and I'm excited to see what more they are going to do. Like I said, we've seen that the top end talent simply isn't all. That alone isn't enough in today's NBA. We just saw that. We've seen that in the past. We've seen that in the last few years. We know that this new NBA, especially with the new CBA, we know that this league is changing. But this is a very, very good move if you're Philadelphia. If I'm a Philadelphia fan, I'm over the moon right now. This isn't one of those moves that makes you an instant championship winner. This isn't one of those moves that makes you an instant Eastern Conference Finals winner. This isn't one of those moves because the East is good. You still got to see New York. You still got to see Boston. At the end of the day, we know that. You never count a team with two superstars like Dame and Giannis. And I know Dame didn't play like a superstar last year, but I'm still giving him that respect. It was a new situation for him. He didn't look great in Milwaukee. The chemistry looked off. The team looked a little off. We'll see what they do this year. Like I said, I think Milwaukee blew their chance to win another ring. Recently. I think they blew their chance to win another ring within the next couple of years, and let me tell you why. You've lost your only defensive guy. The guy that was like an anchor of your defense in Jrue Holiday. Not only did you lose him, you lost him to one of your rivals. Then you get Dame, and the Dame pairing hasn't looked great. And then you fire a guy in Adrian Griffin who was doing a pretty good job just to hire Doc Rivers, who literally was under 500 as a coach in the games that he coached with y'all, to lose to the Pacers in the first round. Again, Giannis and Dame were hurt. I understand that, but I think now they are the fourth best team in the East at best. And they have a lot of questions. They don't have really too many guys on the roster at all. They're losing, like I said, Malik Beasley, but I think the Bucks sold. I think Philly looks really, really good with this move. Like I said, they need a little more. I think the Knicks and Boston are starting to get a little worried. I definitely think Boston's getting a little worried. At the end of once they won the finals, I was thinking this is the best chance the team has to repeat, and I still think this is the best chance. This is the best chance the team has to repeat. In the last 5-6 years, I do think this is the team with the best chance to do it, just because the East still isn't great outside of those top 3-4 teams, and they still have the top end talent. They're still bringing back the same roster. They're still bringing back the same coach and everything like that. But Boston's a little more scared now than they were. They were probably already getting a little scared of New York with the moves they were making. Now you're thinking, damn, Philly too. We don't know what's going to happen with Jimmy Butler. Will he go to Milwaukee? What's Jimmy Butler going to do? Will he stay in the East? Is there a potential he could reunite with Philly? I don't think so at all. But you never know. But again, I definitely don't think it's going to happen. The way they treated him, the way they chose Tobias Harris over him, who just showed his rear end in the playoffs. I think Buddy Hield is gone. I'm not sure. I think Buddy Hield's a free agent maybe or something like that. So Philly has a lot of questions to answer. But man, is Boston probably scared right now. Love this move. Let me know what y'all think about it. It's an early morning video. It's literally 5:15 in the morning. They made this trade at 2 o'clock in the morning. Shocked everybody. I know the world is about to be shocked when everybody wakes up. So yeah, hope y'all see this video early in the morning. Love y'all. Appreciate you. Thank you for everything.